So we're now moving on to our great debate, for which I'll be welcoming Nick back onto stage. And you're probably wondering what these presidential podia and this large white bench, what they're doing here, and you're about to find out. So this session is all about telecoms operators and verticals. And we've been talking for some time now about precisely how telcos can partner with different vertical industries to extract, to leverage the benefits of 5G. And we thought it was only fit and appropriate to put a construct together where we have the vertical players and the telecoms operators.
Very much, Mark. So we've got a fantastic panel lineup for you here this morning. We have 9 different leaders across 5 different industries, 4 different industry verticals, and 5 leaders from across the communications market. And I think it's going to lead to a very interesting debate about what the future of the 5G world is going to look like.
Okay, so let's welcome on stage.
Okay, welcome our panelists.
So, the format is we're going to give each of our distinguished panelists a few minutes to talk about their requirements, their needs, their approaches towards 5G. And so first I'm turning to Vesa. Vesa from Hatch. I tend to think we often underestimate just the sheer size and power of the gaming industry. It's the fastest growing part of the entertainment space, about a $150 billion sector. So, Vesa, maybe you can just give us some insights into how you intend to leverage 5G.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and greetings from the gaming industry. So, like Mark said, it's the biggest and fastest growing segment of the whole entertainment industry. And we believe that gaming will also be streaming-based in the future. So, Hatch is the world's only game streaming service, which is built for the mass market mobile usage over wireless networks. And we believe that the same massive paradigm change, what has taken place with music, movies, and TV shows, when the consumption is nowadays totally on-demand, based, streaming delivered, direct experience, the same paradigm change will happen with gaming as well. But unlike with music or movies, when you stream them, you can always buffer before you start the playback. That's not possible with gaming, because gaming is a truly interactive, real-time, two-way experience. And that's why having a highly reliable, high-quality, low-latency connectivity is essential for delivering good gameplay experience over streaming technology. And that is why 5G will be a massive enabler for bringing cloud gaming to the mass market audiences. So the Hatch strategy is to work with mobile operators and OEMs to make Hatch as the key showcase service for their 5G launches. And we already announced partnerships with multiple partners. We are partnered with Elisa in Finland. We are partnered with NTT Docomo in Japan. We are partnering with Sprint in the US. And also in South Korea, we already launched with Samsung together with SK Telecom and LG U+. So it's happening, and there's a lot of more 5G partnerships in the pipeline. Hatch is a startup, and we're only like 50 people, and that's why, because we are building a global consumer-facing services business, the only way to succeed is to partner with other companies. So partnering is very much in our DNA. First of all, Hatch is a streaming service, but we don't own any servers. We don't operate any data centers. We use cloud service providers to host the streaming servers for us. And we work very closely with network operators to optimize the network connectivity by peering arrangements so that the connection between our servers and the end users can be optimized. We also believe that mobile operators should take much more active role in optimizing the network traffic and also giving companies like Hatch access to the network health indicators, like information we can optimize and adapt our service to sudden changes in the network environment, like congestion or sudden drop of packets or jitter. Also, many operators are also cloud service providers, and that, of course, gives us the opportunity to work even more closely with our partners in that space. Mobile edge computing is something that we still feel is kind of finding its form, but of course, we've been eyeing that opportunity very closely with our partners. But we believe that, of course, for latency-sensitive services like Hatch, mobile edge computing can be a very massive improvement what the operators can offer and make it much more better experience for the users to experience great gaming over streaming. But it really requires new mindset, much more faster decision-making to be able to capture this 5G-driven cloud gaming opportunity. And we look forward to working with all of you to make that a reality. But the time to act is now, because 5G is happening now, and we are already delivering the service around the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jamie, morning, welcome. So you are here representing the TV video industry.
Yep.
Which is a pretty good place to be in right now, be it Champions League or Netflix, OTT versus pay TV. But you have an interesting perspective because you actually work as part of a larger telco organization. So maybe you can give us your perspectives on how on the TV industry can leverage 5G.
Yes, and good morning. It was interesting trying to work out which place to sit, and I thought I might stand in the middle, being a broadcaster working for a telco. But the interesting thing is, you know, working for BT, British Telecom, as a telco, as a broadcaster, I joined to lead the team that set up BT Sport. For those who don't know, not in the UK, it's 12 linear channels and OTT channels of live sport, exclusive Champions League, Europa League, Premier League, etc., etc. And the interesting thing, it was 6 years old, and BT Sport was the world's first live 4K channel distributor because of IP. We were the first surround sound 360 live sound experience because we deliver it over IP. We're the first live 360 biggest ever event. We did a 12-camera 360. We do live 360 highlights, the only broadcaster in the world that does that over IP. Later this year, we're launching HDR over IP. So there's a little trend going through there. And last November, which is why I'm here, we did the world's first live outside broadcast over 5G for an accredited football match with 9 cameras. So why 5G? 2 really key elements for me in this. The first one is about creative opportunity. For those of you who don't know how you cover a football game at the moment, but you have lots of cameras, normally about 24 to 27, all plugged into a big dirty truck that's parked in the car park. They're tethered. Really difficult. When you untether them, which is what 5G enables, it means you can have a camera that can travel in on the team bus, can go into the dressing room, can come out in the tunnel, and then go and stand in camera 2 position. Completely opens up how you do your coverage. The other opportunity around the creative element with 5G is at the moment, it's very hard for us to talk direct to people who are actually at the event because for signal problems, we've all tried it, you can't get it. With the introduction of things like VAR, et cetera, in football, to be able to poll and talk to people in the stadium during that live event and be able to put that into your broadcast opens up endless possibilities about personalization, about engagement, which is what we're all in the business of, isn't it, to do that. So that's the key thing about creativity. But there's something far more important, and I think the term that my colleagues over here would use is network slicing. I don't use that. I like to call it a virtual fiber because I understand what that means, i.e. it's a fiber that's there somewhere. And low latency. Really, really important in the broadcast world because, again, if you don't know how we cover a football game, we will have about 120 people on site with those cameras. We will have at least 2 trucks. We will have 2 generators spewing out. So we have a huge team that moves between football games. Some grounds are fibered, some aren't. Some places you can use 4G, some you can't. 5G is that enabler to bring all of those different delivery mechanisms and contribution mechanisms together. So you've got your creative on site, but more importantly, with the 5G world, you no longer need to drive a truck to the ground. All of your teams can work within your studio complex, within your galleries. Cuts down on TNA. And there's some really important things here, and we talked earlier, the earlier presentation I was listening to, about culture. 5G, through remote production, will open up staff well-being completely, because people work-life balance all of a sudden to do a 2-hour football game, they're not away from their family for 2 days. It will open up accessibility. You won't realize this at the moment, but it's very difficult for someone with that disability to be able to work in an outside broadcast truck on site. Completely changes that. Environmental impact. Broadcasters, we're notoriously difficult and bad around sustainability. Changes overnight. We've not got trucks driving all over the country. We haven't got generators pumping out there. Massive opportunity for us to clean up our act and therefore make it safer for the future. And there's one more, which is as important, but if you're going to use this to drive you to look at 5G and remote production, you've got the wrong strategy, and that's about cost. Because it is cheaper to be able to work back at base with the same team doing multiple games. It's pretty simple economics. But as I said earlier, if you're doing it for cost, you're doing it for the wrong reason. But when you bring all of that together, what we're actually saying is 5G will enable us to work smarter, to be more creative, and to deliver more for less. So pretty exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie. Paul, welcome. So McLaren, I think a lot of people in the room will know who McLaren is. I suspect quite a few petrol heads sitting amongst us today. Not a bad start to the Formula 1 year? Okay-ish? Okay. So what people might be less familiar with is McLaren Applied Technologies and work you're doing there. And we've positioned you here as a spokesperson for, I guess, the move towards autonomous driving. So that's a very big topic, lots of discussion around 5G. Maybe you can give us your perspective on how 5G fits in with the discussion around autonomous driving.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're part of Applied Technologies, which is separate from their car and the race team. We provide all the electronics to all the Formula 1 teams, all the data systems, the rest of it. We sort of basically provide them a platform to go racing. We win every race, so it's nice and easy. So that's a big part of our business, but it has limited growth. And so where we're growing is in how to apply some of that technology. And the connected train is one of them, so providing Wi-Fi, passenger Wi-Fi, data insights to be able to manage the train's data and understand how to improve the running of the train has become part of our business. And also the automotive business. So it's perhaps quite natural that we should produce ECUs, etc., for the road car business. But we also produced a safe stop ECU, which is for providing the safety system for an autonomous vehicle. So that will safely park the car if anything goes wrong. And that means it's a fail-operate type thing. And this is a real contrast between building electronics for motorsport as well as building electronics into where it's safety critical and it has to be able to operate under all conditions. And this is really where I think 5G has got to, it's going to have to prove itself, because the V2X technology that we're all sort of looking forward to is going to have to be quite reliable. And our experience, we've taken cell-based systems into motorsport, and it stresses them out quite a bit. You can't run them in there. We'd love to. If anyone wants to run 5G in motorsport, I can give you a challenge, but because it really is difficult. It's all problems. It's not the speed. I mean, trains go faster than race cars. It's not the vibration, all sorts of things, vibration, there's temperatures, the rest of it. But it's all those problems all in one go, and you've only got 2 days to get it right, and then you're on to the next site. So and it's a very high bandwidth. But it's getting that V2X to be reliable. And it is when we do something for motorsport and the autonomous vehicle market, it's 100 times more difficult to do something for an automotive to be safety critical. So where you are in traditional 4G, when we run that on a racetrack, we found we had 1 in 10,000 handovers failing. It was a bug in the authentication. No one had ever noticed, but it was a systematic bug. And so it was only because we were running around and looking really for a demand to get real high quality did we find that bug, get it fixed. Now, if you're relying on V2X technology to know whether you can drive safely around the corner, it may be positive information, and maybe you shouldn't drive unless you get a good message. But human nature is such that once you have warnings, you rely that you will get those warnings. And if these things fail 10,000 times, that might not seem that bad. But human drivers drive 100 million miles before they have a serious accident. It's a sort of stats in the Western world. And we think all this connected car and autonomous vehicle driving is going to help our safety. Well, it's going to help our safety if we can get it right. And it is really difficult to get that right in the real world. The real world doesn't have a nice specification that you can run a process against. You have to understand what's going on in the real world. If there's one thing that we end up having to do in motorsport is develop both in the labs and in simulation, but go out in the real world and validate that. That's what those guys are doing with that platform. There's 100 guys in each team making their car go as fast as they can by understanding the real world versus their simulation and that cycle over and over again. So that's the challenge, really. Make that 5G. If you can make it reliable, that'll be fantastic.
Thank you, Paul. So, last but certainly not least, smart cities. Any surveys we've done, it always comes up as being the #1 opportunity for telcos in 5G. So, Martin, could you give us some thoughts around challenges, opportunities?
Sure. Thanks for inviting me. It's good to see you all. Good to be working with you all. I represent OASC, which is the Open Agile Smart Cities global network of national networks, so representing 140 cities in 29 countries. So if you learn one thing from what I'm going to say, it's going to be this. Cities and communities is not a sector. You can repeat with me. Cities and communities is not a sector, right? It's all sectors put in one. It's all of what we just heard. So where do you think the 5G cells will be first deployed? In the cities. So how do you get 100 cells per square kilometer somewhere? You have to negotiate with those who have the space. Who owns the data that's going to be processed there? There are already very, very hard principles being turned into directives. You remember GDPR? You're going to have to deal with something like that in the data space as well. Cities are now saying, we own the data. We, the people, that's every one of you. And if you want to process that, well, terms and conditions apply. So first of all, yes, it's a huge market opportunity, but forget about selling handsets. Think about how you will even operate in this space. That's going to be your biggest challenge with whichever sector. I mean, you could see, you want data for your cars to operate. Well, one company having a complete data set of the world, good luck. How are you going to establish these data spaces? Now, cities really want 5G to work. They really want to work with you. They want to buy your services. We have tons of problems. The big cities, the growth in Asia, in India, in Africa, really demands technology to help us. We have the Sustainability Development Goals, right? Everything from poverty, congestion, pollution, you name it, saving the planet. We need technology to do that. But again, terms and conditions apply. So if we want to move towards a market, and that's probably the biggest of them all because it's everything lumped together, we need to have a common ground, which we do not really discuss, and nobody will own it. You, as citizens, as inhabitants of the world, will not allow single entities or very few entities to own this common ground. We heard about the open framework. And this is why we're working with TM Forum, because we like the idea of agreeing on something simple that works everywhere on the planet, across all sectors, and then we can virtualize, we can compete on top of that. So we're moving now towards a situation where such demands will come from the demand side to all of you, and you need to work with them. So what we heard in the beginning now, very inspiring. It's about your culture and your ability to form partnerships that tackle the global problems and global dynamics, but work on a local level. Nobody, I can tell you, no community will let you suck the economy or the power out of the local level. It will not happen. So we need to have these global dynamics somehow hitting the ground. And you are the link. Or I would say those of you who make it into these partnerships will be glorious. The rest will be toast.
Okay. Martin, thank you. So, Nick, well, I hope you telco guys aren't getting too comfy there. You don't need gin and tonics, snacks? Okay, they're coming. So,
Well, it's
can telco
quite a
measure
wish
up?
list, I think. Quite a wish list, don't you think? I mean,
Yeah.
high expectations and huge opportunity was how I'd sort of summarize that, but we want low latency, transparent networks, reliability, mobile edge compute. Time is now to get it done. We're ready. Are we ready? Elisabetta, maybe we can start with you. I'd like to hear your perspective on what you heard there and what Tim is doing to get ready for this 5G opportunity.
No, first of all, it's very interesting, all the challenges and the requests. I hope that our friends here will help us to monetize as well. Not to be perceived too much money obsessed, but I mean, I think that that is part of the story because, of course, what has happened in the last 10 years, in the last decade, has been a lot of company, what we call at web scale and so on, have been doing a lot of innovation, I mean, based on our connectivity. So I was in US, everyone was talking about mobile first, but guess what? The part, I mean, of the nice monetization has been taken from these players and not too much to service providers. So this is something that we need to address in order to deliver, and we will do, I mean, whatever you are asking. So let's come to the 5G, what we are doing. Telecom Italia is a leader operator wireline and wireless in Italy, and so former PTT. So as you can imagine, we still have, you know, every technology you remember or you name it, we have it. So if you remember PDH, SDH from 30 years ago, we have it. But then we have 5G. So then we have, you know, we have to balance and understand how we segregate all the legacy stuff and we do something new with 5G. So with 5G, we have a good news. So we have decided that we will not provide simply connectivity, but we are building a platform. So for us, 5G, we are, you know, in the middle of building this 5G digital business platform. What do we mean? How does this platform look like? First of all, whatever we do it, every kind of application we have it, if we have radio, or we have CRM, or we have billing, or we have core network, that should be cloud native. I heard before, you know, Tarek from Rakuten talking about it. Yes, we started to have virtualization of RAN 2 years back. I'm, you know, just slightly a bit competitive, so we were the first one. And was in 2016, we started to work with this. But despite we have started so early, the path is very difficult. So we are running now and assessing who is ready with this cloud native technology, almost no one in the telco industries, you know, traditional vendors. So that's, we really need someone helping there. Then we talk about intelligence, data-driven. We know telco has been, of course, very much late in this game. So we have so much data. We have exabyte of data in our network, but almost, I mean, we don't do anything about it. And what we want to do, I mean, we want to not going extreme, but at least doing better what we do. So one important thing is building this intelligent block that is going to be able to understand whatever is happening in order to have autonomous network or a better customer experience. Last but not least, and that is coming to our gentleman here, is about exposure and collaboration. Here is where we have to do really a quantum step ahead. Because let's be honest, last 10 years, of course, the innovation, others were doing innovation, telco operators were not there, open enough to collaborate, open enough and easy to work with. So we need to do a big transformation here. And how we expose all we do it inside the service provider, that is a key point. So that is what we are very busy. And it's not only about Open API, but really difficult and very distinctive capabilities, for example, drone control or spatial recognition. So there are so many capabilities that we need, to expose to others. So that's what we are currently busy on.
That's a great phrase, quantum step forward. That's a nice way to put it. Peter, let me come to you. Deutsche Telekom is making great strides forward. Is it a quantum step for you? And where is Deutsche Telekom on this journey?
Well, let me pick up your analogy, and you know that I'm actually a physicist and mathematician. So the good thing about quantum leaps is you can also tunnel through, if you do it the right way. And I think that's a theme I want to pick for my kind of 4 minutes. Something that may be politically not on vogue, but I want to talk about borders and boundaries, and that we actually have to break down borders and boundaries. So my colleague here, for example, is more from the network engineering side, and that's one of the first boundaries we will need to break. Network and IT need to be managed as one. And also, and Nick, you will have to tackle me if I'm going too much out of bounds. I think also the boundary of formats, So for example, I say, one boundary we need to break, we need to come to you. So if I want to work with you as a small startup, I have to work very differently. I can't bring 10 people, corporate development people, finance people, whatever. That never will work for you. Exactly. So that we need to, that's something I need to come to you. I need to understand, what's happening with the citizens in the cities. That's what I need to understand. Now, I'm not a cars guy, so I wouldn't be the right person to come to you, so somebody from my team would have to come to you because I don't know the first thing about cars, As a German male, and I'm a poor driver, So I'll openly admit that, Also, then I would need to come to you, We need to break the boundaries about people just consuming, and you're waiting for us to give you insights. The only thing we can do is maybe give you a little bit activation energy, going back to the quantum analogy, to really do your thing, And that's also with the consumers, We need to, like with our partners in the industry, we need to go to co-creation. It's no longer design, plan, It's co-creation, it's building things quickly, being agile. And that's what I think is very, very important, And something surprising will always happen, like you didn't expect me to get up now and walk around, and you really keep your continence well, so compliments for that, But that's what will happen in the market, We will be surprised left, right, and center. And that then maybe comes to the most difficult boundaries, It's collaborations amongst us, Here I see my 2 colleagues, or 3 colleagues from the board, It's trustful collaboration, with people who aren't used to do that. It's a new game, But most boundaries, I think, are actually in our heads and in our emotions, Because the key boundary I need to break is that I'm no longer the know-it-all, that I'm not the guy who will give all the orders and people execute. I have to be humble. I have to sit down, and listen, become a servant leader, and I have to start with myself and look what am I learning? So, and not to pick on my fellow panelists, but it's always good to reflect what we could have done better. Now, what we did very classical, we walked out here, and each of us gives his or her story. We could have spent the 3/4 of an hour this morning actually to maybe have a pre-debate, to think about, how can we play off each other? How can we have a choreography? Now, I was also too tired to initiate that, yeah, I have to admit, yeah.
Oh.
But I think that would have been an agile release train, yeah. That would have been probably more value for the audience, yeah. So let me finish with, even though it's not a political trend, and I think also the boundaries between countries, let's not go sucked into a global conflict, all of us, yeah. We need to do something again about that. So let's not accept boundaries, and as we at Deutsche Telekom like to say, life is for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Well, the good news is we're coming on to the debate, Peter, so don't worry. That's totally built in. So, Rusha, let me come on to you, because Telenor, very big in Asia and about to become even bigger in Asia with the news last week. Asia is where a lot of this innovation is really happening. So tell us about Telenor's journey into 5G and also what you're doing very innovatively with 4G as well.
Yeah, we are very excited about our next journey in Asia particularly. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. I think in Telenor, we truly believe that the digital economy and the future economy is built on the sharing, on the transparency, on the strong collaboration, but as well a strong responsibility. And that's how we undertake our journey towards the 5G. How do we really transform ourselves towards the digital technology that will enable us to achieve that? And digital technology is basically enhancing how we see the customer experience, and by building the trust and through the interactions that are more digital, that are more personalized and contextual. That's how we take it. But the digital transformation for us and the journey is much more beyond technology. It's about the change of the mindset. It's about the big cultural change that we have been embarking for the decade. And it is the shift from information technology towards the digital technology through a shift of controlling minds to creating minds, from basically making stronger each of us to making the team be stronger and collaborate across better than what we are doing today. So it is really about creating what we are all doing together. It's about as well making machine more smarter and faster, while we are focusing how do we basically educate our human capital. Education and upskill is something that we are focusing quite a lot. And it's not just by the training, but by how do we approach it through the different way of working, how do we interact with the industry, with the ecosystem, and how do we learn from the industry and ecosystem around us in order to prepare ourselves and mature ourselves in that journey. Our main ambition, be it in Asia or in Scandinavia where we are, it is how do we actually empower the customers. And customer, we believe, will be empowered through making the interaction digital. For us, that means that all the interactions will be API first driven. That's why we have an API first policy across 8 markets, be it in Asia or in Scandinavia, and close to 100 APIs are standardized and being used based on the TM Forum standards. We want to make it personalized. To make it personalized across all the markets, we want to make the first-party data in the data lake, and that is standard across. We want to build trust, and that is the foundation of everything what we do, and as well the foundation of the collaboration. And we strongly believe in the security and privacy in everything what we do. And we believe that security and privacy are the secret weapon that we have, that we are building trust towards the customer, that, to be honest, we have not monetized yet. And this is giving us the advantage for the future that we are ahead of us. Then we are talking about being open and being more collaborative across. To enable that, we are moving towards the cloud. Cloud is breaking that boundaries, technology boundaries, for being more vertical, monolith system, being much more open and horizontal, not only in the countries where we operate, but across the countries. And that's why today we have 68% of the total Telenor data traffic is being operated by the hybrid cloud, which is the converged network and IT cloud. So there is no boundaries between network and IT in the infrastructure layer. And more than 110 million subscribers are served from the cloud platform. And that is not the end. We are going to continue that journey because we would like to reach close to 90% by 2020 of all network workloads to be operated by that. Why do we believe that we have this advantage? Because we do have a trust, and we should remind ourselves about the secret levers and our secret weapon that we have. We have started this modernization and transformation from ourselves. And that is a good starting point, because to collaborate, interact with the industry, we need to start with ourselves. And we have in our DNA as the industry collaboration, because collaboration has brought us where we are today, and collaboration will take us forward in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Rusha. Nikos. Nikos, does Telstra have a similar secret weapon?
We have many. First of all, I'm going to pick subjects from and topics from everybody on the panel, and I'm going to start by breaking the rules. So I can't sit down. So at Telstra, we are in a similar point in our history. We have to stand between our friends on the telco side and our friends from the industry and our consumer customers, because this is who pays the bill, and we spend the money to serve you. So at Telstra, which is far away from here, in beautiful Australia, we have recognized a different need. And that need is we have to start acting today. I'm quite disappointed when I hear my colleagues discount connectivity, how connectivity is going to be commoditized. Actually, connectivity is the highest barrier of entry of anything. Anybody can create a game. And that game can be created in Australia, it can be created in Sweden, it can be created in the US. But there are only so many fiber connections in the house. There are only so many 5G networks. And I think it's a mistake from an industry perspective not to do our best to monetize that, because it's all about money. And our industry is not very healthy today. So at Telstra, what we did is a few things. One is we said, there is no network and IT. We collapsed both. There is no CIO. We looked at the customers first, and we started by building relationships. So we have projects with a bank, an energy company, a mining company, and together we actually co-create, as we speak, what they want for the future and what they're willing to pay for the future. Because I don't know. If I could read the future, I wouldn't be working. So as we create these things, these following things are emerging. One, connectivity is super important at the edge. And everybody talks, oh, low latency. We're going to monetize low latency. I'm going to challenge anybody in the room to tell me how I can technically provision NIC for 20 milliseconds latency, and my industry friends for 50 millisecond latency. If anybody can tell me how to do this, you're hired. We can't do it. So monetization is not as easy as we think. But the edge has a unique role to play. And that role is actually latency, and putting the cloud as close to the consumption and the data generation as possible. So as if I come close to our gaming friends, what we're going to do is really allow the game to be played fast. And I'm a gamer. I know I'm old, but I'm a gamer.
Yeah, works better.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because when the car you're driving on the simulator stalls, somebody else wins. I can't accept that. I am competitive too. When I go to our other friends, whether it's a bank or a mine or a smart city, it's very, very important that this edge allows the elimination of the IT components for everybody. I know my time is running close, so I'll give you a banking example that's not on the panel. So we're working with CBA, one of the leading banks in Australia, and what they want to do is eliminate IT from every branch. Because today, they buy a $1,000 laptop, and it's costing them $1,000 a year for licenses and maintenance and patching and IT support, and they have Wi-Fi in every branch, and somebody has to maintain it, and Wi-Fi is down, and please fix it, and the POS is down, please, what's happening? Is it the software? How old is it? What they would love to do is eliminate all of that They will have to get a Chromebook at $300. They're going to have a cloud close to the branch and run everything from there. No wires, nothing. Wouldn't that be cheaper? So we're running fast because we believe you got to be early in monetizing this opportunity. Once the train goes by, it's just too late.
Great. Thank you, Nikos. Now, last but not least, Edward, you're coming at this from a slightly different perspective. You're not the CTIO here. You're coming at this from both investor and provider into the market, and coming out of one of the world's largest markets and fastest moving markets in China when it comes to 5G. Are you investing in 5G? Do you believe what's being said here? Is it real? Would you put your money behind it?
Let me follow Peter and Nicholas' example and talk. I participated in the telco industry exactly 20 years ago, year 99, and I was asked by Chinese government to create a competitive telco called China Netcom, and that company from scratch. Remember, 20 years ago was a very exciting time for telco, and all the very exciting name, Global Crossing, Level 3, and China Netcom, and deregulations. I think, remember that time, telecom industry reached about over $100 billion, build a tremendous infrastructure, broadband, undersea cable. And I also remember that time, number of China telecom executives were very visionary. Think about cloud computing already. And so I left that company year about 2005. And now China Netcom has become part of China Unicom. And after I left, I started my fund, investing, different kind of startups. And in last 15 years, I watched a telco with a lot of, frustration. You look at the telecom starting with 3G, 4Gs. And 3G, 4G basically become the platform for mobile apps. OTT company using our infrastructure doing very well. And we missed, basically telecom missed the entire 3G, 4G applications. And then was about 7 years ago was cloud computing. I thought this is a game of telecom. Remember, I think about 20 years ago, some ecosystem said the network is a computer. And WorldCom started called Generation D, which was cloud computing. But, none of telecom participated well, capture fundamental infrastructure transformation, cloud computing. Why is that? And I have two, experiences I want to share with you. One conclusion is that most of the telco, we become prisoner of our past success. We are less entrepreneurial. And our shareholder structure, regulator forbidden a lot of opportunities for us. Secondly, like I said, we don't know how to work with others. We try to build everything by ourselves. And so with 5G, I think it's a major opportunity for telco industry again. Globally, I think we are in a crossroad. We have no choice to invest a lot of money in this new infrastructure. But can we capture value or just become utilities? I think this TMF offers a great framework, open APIs. But I think one advice I want to share with you is we need to learn how to use capital, investing the future opportunities. Because capital is not about money. It's created a new type of vehicle, new type of incentive, a new type of way to working with each others. So I think we need to learn from Silicon Valley venture capital experiences and the global telco to embrace these 5G opportunities. We have to use external capitals to help us investing in entrepreneurs, divesting certain assets we have,
and embrace other ecosystem. So that's some experiences I want to share with you. We had a long journey. I think next 5, 10 years is going to be very exciting. I really hope we're going to be work together, become the most important digital infrastructure again.
Great.
I want to, shake hands with Rusha, and Rusha and I, worked together in last 5 years. We went through a lot, hardship, but gradually we built a new platform and built a trust. I think that's kind of cooperation I think we needed across all industries.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Edward. So, Mark, there you have it, an industry not afraid to break the rules, and an industry that's feeling pretty confident, I think, from that. So now we're going to go into the debate, and I think the question I'd really like to start off with, Mark, back to the various industries here, came from Elisabetta right at the start. Where's the opportunity in what you're describing? You've come up with a very long wish list there of things you'd like to see from the communications industry. But the elephant in the room question is, who's going to pay for it? So in the models and approaches you're looking at in your companies, are there opportunities to generate more value for everybody, or is it just simply generating more value for your industry? It'd be great to hear from this panel. And
Nick and I are happy to sort of step out the way so you guys can make friends.
You can keep coming together as you wish.
You can walk over there and sit down if you want to.
Well, if I may start, so talking about cloud gaming, so I believe that can be a very disruptive thing for the whole gaming ecosystem. So currently, telecom operators don't have really any kind of role in that business. But when gaming becomes a service, you guys are the best positioned to step in because you have an existing user base, existing distribution channels, you have building relationship with your customers. So if you want, you could take a massive role in gaming with this disruption. But you need to step up and kind of go for it.
And so from a business model perspective, we're talking about bundling in gaming with telecom services
selling gaming service as a value-added service.
Right. In the same way that you would sell a telecom, like resell Netflix, for example.
Yeah, and even though gaming is already a huge business, we believe that making it a subscription service can really extend the market and create new business. We can reach totally new audiences, people who don't play games that much today. And that's a huge opportunity, and that's why we at least are working with the telecom operators to go for that opportunity. But it's a disruption.
But do they not need to build out nationwide networks so you can allow a 5G gamer in one place to play with a 5G gamer in another place?
Yeah,
is that a requirement?
Yeah, we at least see that cloud gaming can be one of the lead use cases why people want to upgrade to 5G. And it can be a kind of great catalyst for the whole 5G ecosystem to build up.
So Peter, you were looking to jump in there?
Yeah. So just to pick up the example, which I like, I think, look, if this is going to be a win-win, then we need to make the cake bigger, not just fight about how to distribute the cake. So picking up your example, I think if we need to create a new user experience. So if I think about a multiplayer real-time game, yeah, where people see the other players, et cetera, that's a real use case you couldn't do without 5G and without, a lot of the network innovations that we have. And then we create new value, new user experiences, and that's, I think, the way to go.
We believe in gaming as well. The challenge that I think we have as an industry and an opportunity is to take this local capability and make it global, and it goes back to collaboration. So now we can compete with Peter from Germany to Australia.
So what are the specific requirements that you will need operators to fulfill in order for your vision to?
Yeah, well, of course, from our perspective, technically speaking, so we are after two things. We want to kind of get access to cloud compute capacity with a very affordable price, and we need very reliable, low latency, last mile connectivity. And I think working together, I think that there could be much more we could do than just relying on the standard network setup and trying to apply that for gaming. So I think you can optimize a lot if you go for it.
How much do you think that gaming is going to be mobile? Because, of course, I have two sons, and so they play a lot. They play a lot at home. So I'm just wondering from a mobility perspective, because, we are in the middle of 5G, looking at the use cases. Gaming, of course, for consumer, we think is going to be big. But for you? It's going to be more, how to say, nomadic game? Is real mobile?
So today, this year, gaming will be around a bit more than 150 billion business globally, and more than half of that is mobile gaming. And it's the fastest growing. It grows like the mobile segment grows like 26% a year. And we believe with cloud gaming, we can even further extend the market. So it's already the biggest segment in gaming is mobile. So it's a real opportunity.
But if
Let's hear some. Sorry, go on, Ruza.
Yeah, if I may just add, and I think it's important because gaming is seen as one of the key bets across the globe. So, and we should not only talk about gaming on the 5G. There are a lot of markets, and where we operate
Absolutely.
in emerging and developed Asia as well, where we can provide a good entertaining services on the existing infrastructure. But this to happen, rather than just putting, as we say in Norway, deliver at the door, we need to open the door and work together. So we need to put the guards down and run the more open book dialogue between us to really understand what would it take to deliver on the good customer experience, whichever market we are, and then to find a way and fine-tune the network experience and the go-to-market together. That's the only way, because we cannot just basically work on the, someone said this morning, I order these services and you deliver. It has to be the collaboration between us now.
So Martin, let me come on to you. Smart cities, as you said earlier, let's not think of these as some kind of sector. You are all the sectors in one. But do you see around the world, I mean, you're working with hundreds of cities around the world, where do you see real collaboration happening, and where is that being done? When I say collaboration, not just nice playing together, but a meaningful business model for the communications industry.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say that this is not about the money, the cities. Cities have money. The public sector is a big driver and should be driving innovation with its investments. So unfortunately, we have a chicken and the egg situation. Nobody wants a 5G network. No, we want better lives. Okay? And we're willing to invest in that. But if we don't know how to build that or how to even provision that. So we need to set up these ecosystems where we together are building the services. So it's very simple. I mean, you ask, who's going to pay? We're going to pay. But we are going to pay for results for our citizens. Think about, and I'm going to go back to this, it's not about the money. Think about yourselves. You're going to prioritize your family, your community, your well-being, or money. I mean, look at the world today. Money is a sideshow. Yeah? And there's going to be a lot of opportunity there, but it's not, I think really, look at the gaming case. If you deliver something that people need, boom, it's a booming market immediately. So you have to actually, like you say, Peter, apply the same logic. How do you serve a community? Unfortunately, it's insanely complex, right? Because everybody has to jump at the same time in a way with the digital transformation. So be fair, and there's going to be money. And one thing is going to change. This thing about going to individual cities and cutting one deal with one and one deal with the other, that's going the way of the dodo, because the cities are sharing the risk. What we're all about, what we are doing with this minimal interoperability, that's sharing risk so that we can get the investments. So we have the money. You have to play fair.
So what's about regulatory? Because, telco operators are highly regulated. So, and sometimes we really, we cannot move too much because of regulatory. Of course, Italy is very strict. I mean, if I only think about the electromagnetic limit we have 6 volts per meters. In Europe is 60. So, there is really a lot of limitation. And smart city, of course, all regulatory. So the ecosystem is important. It's technology, it's players, but it's institution, it's regulatory. So how do you think there?
The regulation is changing. Almost month by month. So we need to co-create the new regulations. Look at Europe. It's a very aggressive movement now with, I think, a 10 billion euros deployment program. Not research and innovation, but deployment. So the regulation that you have in hindsight is going to change. So look forward and let's shape that together globally.
So is not one of the issues here around the extent to which telecoms operators can or should build capabilities for specific vertical sectors, rather than building out a network and waiting for people to come? And so maybe I'd actually like to ask Jamie here, because you're in an interesting position, which is that you have a TV strategy as part of a telco.
Yeah.
So the dynamic there is really interesting, isn't it? So the question I was going to ask you was, when you think about outside broadcasts, you don't always know where an outside broadcast will be, but you know that you'll probably be at Manchester United or Manchester City 10 times a year. So will BT be building out its 5G networking capability to meet your requirements as a B2B customer?
It's a very good question, and I have to say it struck me how lucky I am being here, being part of a telco, but also being a separate business within that telco, because the thing everyone's talking about here is about collaboration, and you've got to change your business model. Our business model is about shared value, shared wins, shared investment. So if it's going to cost more to deliver, how do we change our workflows to make them more efficient so that both parties benefit? Because it's not in anyone's interest for one party to be underpinning another party and losing money. It's going to go the wrong way eventually. The other thing I think is really interesting as well, and reflecting on this conversation as well, is everyone is talking 5G, 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 and actually what we should be talking about is convergence, and the operators should be working with us to look at where have we got massive fiber opportunities, where is 4G working, where can we unlock some 4G by putting 5G there? Because for me, I need to build one workflow that taps into these converged networks. And I think there's a danger if we're not careful that we're overlaying another delivery mechanism on top of a delivery mechanism that already works, rather than looking at how we can create that ecosystem that will fulfill, for me, very important need. And you're right, so we go to all the Premier League grounds, there's fibre. Brilliant, so don't put 5G there.
Let me pick up on that. Are we being entrepreneurial enough? You just heard there from Jamie that it's not just about collaboration and playing nicely, it's actually spotting where there's opportunity and seeing how that can be taken. So as representatives of the industry, do you think we are doing enough to spot where those opportunities are? Are we creative enough as an industry?
No. I'll jump ahead and say no, because that's one of the things we're trying to fix for our company. If we look at the industry, we have sat back and we have been disrupted. But if you look how many industries we have disrupted, I can't think of many. And when I ask the question to an audience, they always come up with the postal service, which is interesting when SMS came out, but really even that was disrupted by somebody else called, I don't know, WhatsApp or something else. So I can't think of any industry that the telcos have disrupted, and now is the time to start doing that, being entrepreneurial.
While I agree with you totally, I think we as well underestimate to take for granted the connectivity, the security, and the analytics that we deliver. And each of us and all the industry around us take it for granted that the telcos will continue to invest and develop there. And we need as well to look ourselves in these verticals and these specific business cases when we are addressing what will be the role and how that change is going to happen. Because we are sharing the risk, but we need to be daring together, and it has to hurt. We need to share pain as well.
So maybe it's a good chance to bring Paul in. So now, when you hear about these capabilities that telcos are developing, be it a platform and access to billing, be it security, privacy, be it edge, do all of those resonate with you? Is that stuff that you have conversations with them about?
Absolutely. I mean, we need all those things, and we test them to their limits. I mean, I'm a great fan of open APIs. It gives you visibility. It often gives you scale. But sometimes it's difficult to see the wood for the trees. When you write up that platform, it's a nice concept. Everything sort of sounds rosy. It works well on a PowerPoint presentation. But when you take it to the real world, then you need to actually make sure you can drill down and really see that the building blocks that you're relying on.
So are you hearing that 5G will be different enough in terms of approach?
It's got these three pillars, and those three pillars are all wonderful things. And if they deliver, to the level then that'll be fantastic. But it won't happen overnight. You start with a great plan, you go and make it happen, you build it out, and it seems to work, and then it just has to mature in the real world, and it takes some time to do that maturing process. You need to get miles on it, basically.
Oh, go ahead.
Elisabetta, you go.
Okay. No, so because we have a big audience, and in this audience there is a lot of vendors as well. Because let's be honest, service providers buy a lot of products. So we are not, a full technology company. We develop something, but most of the things we buy from vendors. And here, for me, is a call for action, because we understand 5G is a compelling event, and there is so many sectors, or all the sectors together with the smart cities and needs to innovate. Telco operators has understood what has been wrong in the last 10 years, so open up, collaboration. But we have some technology challenges here, and here is a call for action for all of you. We are talking about edge. So having, for example, software, all our core network at the edge. In order to do this, we need to have an orchestration. Everyone has got an orchestration. We have plenty of orchestration. We don't have yet the right one. So, there is something that vendors need to work on. We are talking about software. We are talking about cloud native. Guess what? Vendors are not yet delivering a cloud native software for us. So we are talking about things where we firmly need vendors to step up and helping us to innovate in order to be able, to give to our friends here what they need, because the industry needs is right. Connectivity is a key point. Unfortunately, we have not been monetizing what we had. We want to do more. We want to be open. We want to innovate, but there is these two players here, but then there is a lot of things that vendors needs to be done, because we are running now, really, time is running out, because 5G, is the event where we should do something different. So I really, for me, there is a call for action for all the audience here to start to deliver really what we need to speed up and moving at the web speed. Sorry, but I didn't want to
Nikos, does that resonate? I'm going to come to you as I'm going to switch Edward's hat in a minute to be the resident exemplar for the vendors. But Nikos, you're nodding along there.
It resonates completely. Everybody talks how great cloud native is, but nobody tells us which cloud. Because if I say, give me on any cloud, they'll say, no, this works on AWS, but this other thing only on Azure. And this third thing is you can do it on hybrid, but if it fails over, it can only fail over from Sydney to Alaska.
But I'm going to take the role of a vendor.
Fantastic point from Elizabeth.
Vendors should have a right to reply.
Absolutely.
And they're not on the stage, but I'm going to take the view of a vendor and say, I'm not clear enough about what you want from me.
Ask the customer.
and so what's the construct then between the vendor, the operator, and the customer?
Well, at least from our perspective, being a very small company, what's killing us is the fragmentation. That, if we work with all of you, you all have a different type of making billing integrations. You all have a different way to offer me mobile edge compute access, and it's just impossible for a small company to always hear that, okay, we need to do your way. So there needs to be more flexibility as well, that if there's something which is hot and growing, we need to also see there's kind of some movement from your direction to kind of adjust and do things differently. Otherwise, we go somewhere else.
I think now you understand the problem, right? We're stuck with what we're getting, and they're stuck with what we're giving. So unless this whole ecosystem, and now the word comes in finally, if the whole ecosystem doesn't collaborate and allow this interoperability to work properly, we're just going to continue suffering.
With the same goal.
Yeah.
With the same goal.
Because we are still monolith and vertical. And then to integrate with us, it's very complex. And the complexity is hitting you.
So in my view, I think, therefore, this is really a change, and maybe it's easier for me to see because I come from a different industry, yeah? But I think the industry structure needs to change, right? As Tarek explained this earlier today, it's not enough for us to just operate other people's appliances, yeah? We need to start having software engineering and integration capabilities, yeah? But also, we will need to move to a much more open ecosystem, yeah? And then you need, as in any sort of open source or whatever approach, and I'm not saying open in the sense of for free before all the vendors now run out screaming, yeah? But in terms of standards, yeah, open APIs, all this kind of stuff. So you need to have some rules, you need to create a community where you collaboratively co-create, come up with good ideas, et cetera, et cetera. And as you said, not everybody can have what they have, and not one or two players can dominate that community. And that I see as a big shift for this whole industry, yeah? Everybody involved. And that's why we come back to this whole, taking down boundaries, what does it mean culturally in terms of collaboration? It's a very, very different game than what any one of us has been playing in the past.
So we need to do exactly what you did at the start there, Peter, come together and actually have this conversation and work together on that. One point from the end there.
Just to say that I think the main mission here is to lower the risk, because we need the investment so that we can go out. And usually what you do is you go down the vertical to lower the risk. That's not going to work on the horizontal level. The only way that we're going to do that is to have a shared plan, a plan that we stick to. And I completely agree with you, Vesa. We need a shared plan, right? So we don't have to do all these things. Then this business will start to grow. At the moment, it's like the Tour de France, where we have this transport stage. So everybody's just getting to the next stage. It's a bit boring, and you have like, someone is ahead just for the camera and so on. But it's really what we're there. We're there to lower the risk so we get the investments. And I think we're all on board on that mission. Please join us.
So we're clear on the need to collaborate. Let me just ask the panel each, just to finish, just literally want one word or phrase from you. What is the most important thing we could do in the next year to start that collaboration happening? Peter, maybe I'll start with you.
Humbleness. Being humble.
Being humble. Rusha.
We need to open up, and we need its opening in all aspects. Vendors, ourselves, the industry ecosystem, and being, let's say, open for the not one way, but the collaborative way.
Nikos.
I would go with that. Open up to the possibility of collaboration.
Okay. Elizabeth.
I'm more, technical here. I think that we need to standardize some way to open up and expose things towards the others, because if there is so much fragmentation and every telco is doing his own exposure and so on, so I think that we need really practically something to help telco operators to expose in a similar way.
Edward.
If one word is equity, but can I go back? Because I think it's very hard to change in telco's mentality. That's very hard things to do. For 5G, I think to B2C, telco just provide access. I think telco should focus on B2B, because then when you go to talking about the airline industry, how to bank, we have same bandwidth, same mental model. For B2C, I think it's the best to participate through investments.
Okay. Let's come over to your side, Mark. One thing, Bessie, you'd like to see happen. What would make a big difference for you?
Well, I think we all should be daring to take more risk and kind of run faster. So nobody knows what future will bring, and if we don't try, we don't learn. So go faster to learn.
Jamie.
Listen to the conversation, trust. Because there is lack of trust between two parties. And the other thing I would say, I'm going to get a few more words in actually, is about listen. If I think about what I do for a living, I know what my audience like and what they don't like. I don't tell them what they like. I do what they like. There's quite a parody there for this industry.
Okay. Paul.
I'd say be data-driven, but be critical of the data and be open about the data. That's the only way you can collaborate. Data is a lot more neutral than people are.
Okay. Martin.
It's easy. Be fair.
Be fair. Okay. Well, on that note, we have to finish this debate. My thank you to all of the panelists. We're now going into 3 days of discussion of these topics, so the debate certainly doesn't end there. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to our panel and enjoy the week. Thanks, Edward. Thank you so much.